Hi, and welcome back to Work in Progress with Nicole Engelmann. This is the second part of my conversation with Rachael Welford, who is, I'll read from the list again, an EFT therapist, gong practitioner, community builder, business coach, and podcaster. Hi, Rachael.
Hi.
Hi. The second part is actually mainly about EFT. So we're talking a bit about what it is, how it can help you in your business, and we're actually doing a little session. So stay tuned for that. Thanks again for joining, Rachael.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to share this. I feel like EFT really changed my life, and it's one of those tools that has just stayed with me throughout my journey, and I'm just really passionate about sharing it with people because I just think it's such a flexible tool, and also something that you can use as self-help at home, or something that you can do in more depth when you work with a practitioner. So yeah, it's definitely something I'm pretty passionate about.
I love that. Can you explain what EFT actually is? What does it stand for?
So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. And it's not to be confused with, there's another EFT, which I think is emotional something therapy, and that's like more of a talk therapy. So it's often called tapping for short. And essentially what you do is you tap on certain points on the body and the face, and they are linked to specific acupressure points. So it's very similar to acupuncture, but without the needles. So don't panic if you don't like needles. But in the same way that acupuncture works with the meridian lines in the body, EFT does the same thing. But the combination of stimulating those acupressure points and talking through your problem, they're not 100% sure why yet, but they know what. So we know from clinical studies that it drops your cortisol levels. And in real terms, there was a 4-day study that was done, and the clinical results from that study were cortisol dropped by 37% in 4 days.
Gosh.
Cortisol is your stress hormone, as most people probably know now if you're on Instagram. And I'm not, and do you know what? I feel like cortisol, bless it, is getting a bad rap, because if we had zero cortisol, we wouldn't be able to get out of bed in the morning. Like, there's lots of functions that we need cortisol for. So we don't want to clear the body of cortisol. But when we have anxiety, or we're very, very stressed, or anything that's like panic disorders, PTSD, etc., having a lowered cortisol allows us to feel more calm, which is really powerful. The drop in anxiety was 40%, depression was down by 35%, PTSD scores were down by 32%, pain, which most people don't talk about EFT for pain was down by 57% for the people that were working on pain. Cravings down by 74%, so you can use it for eating disorders, or if you've giving up smoking, anything where you might have like cravings for something. Happiness increased by 31%, and SIG-A, which is in everyone's saliva, and it's a marker of your immune system, so whether your immunity is good or not so good. SIG-A increased by 113%, more than doubled in 4 days, just with nothing.
I like those numbers.
Right. And so these are the kind of results that you can get. And it is quirky. It's a little bit, woo-woo, if you like, because you're tapping on your face and you're talking through your problems, which can seem a little bit quirky, but it's so incredibly effective. And the thing that I hear time and time and time again from everybody that I've ever worked with is, I feel lighter. That's usually the first thing people say. I feel lighter. Or my brain feels quieter. That's another one. Like,
yeah, and we all want that, right?
There's all the noise. Like people look confused. People will look confused because it will be quick and short, and it will be like, But there's a couple of things. If you are going to tap along today, just a couple of things to be mindful of. Tapping's really amazing because it brings emotions to the surface very quickly, which means that we can obviously process those emotions, which can be helpful. But tapping's also not great because it brings emotions to the surface very quickly. And sometimes you might not want to deal with things that are there. So do tap with care and pay attention to yourself and your body. And if you feel like you're getting overwhelmed at any point, I just recommend placing both hands over the heart and breathing in for 5 and out for 5. It's also, if you're going to be using it for things like active substance abuse, or anything like that, because I know I've talked about cravings and things, just be mindful that I would recommend anything where it's like severe psychological disorders, active substance abuse, serious medical conditions, complex trauma, those kinds of things, especially if you self-harm or have suicidal ideation or anything like that. I would recommend doing that kind of tapping with a licensed therapist who can hold space for you and, you know, can support you through that, because tapping's incredibly powerful. And I used it originally when I had depression and I was bedridden. And almost within 2 weeks of tapping every day for 5 minutes, I started to notice that I just wanted to get out of bed, which was crazy, you know. So it can be very powerful and you can do it at home on your own. And that was fine for me. But for some people, we need a bit of additional support. So just bear that in mind.
Brilliant. I love that. Obviously, the tapping session today is about feeling a bit overwhelmed in your business and how it, you know, how EFT can help you a little bit with lightening that load, with that mental load. How does it help you within your business? How can it help you?
So many ways. That's such a great question. So obviously, because of the lowering in cortisol, it can allow you to have almost like calming signals to your body and your brain. So when we're lowering those stress hormones, it allows us to think more clearly, because when you think about stress, any type of stress, right? And stress is essentially a demand on the body that the body can't cope with. So it could be anything. It could be hunger or being thirsty, or it could be something, you know, more serious. And when we get stressed, what tends to happen is our focus narrows. And the brain will literally be asking, you know, how am I going to survive this? How am I going to survive this? And that makes it difficult because it stops us thinking about other people, can make us a little bit selfish sometimes if we're very stressed all the time, because we're only thinking, how am I going to survive this? It also cuts our decision-making ability. It cuts our access to things like logic and creativity. So especially if you're doing something like you with photography, or there's any artists or any creatives in this space, you know, when we're trying, I really need to get this project done, you know, you can't really think of a creative solution when you're in that space. So it really helps you to, you know, let go of some of the stress so that we can open logic, we can open creativity. It's a bit like a reset button, really, for your nervous system. But it can also help in things like lowering anxiety before you've got to do a public speaking, you know, if you're doing a talk or if you're doing a launch or networking, you know, that doing tapping before you go into those events can lower anxiety for you. It can also help you work through limiting beliefs. So we can reprogram things like self-doubt. We can reprogram imposter syndrome. We can really work to build our confidence with it. And it also just helps you to stay calm. And I think when we're calm, we make better decisions than we do when we're in a panic and we're just trying to, like, you know, oh, I need to move forward. And it's like, probably we've all done that in our business. I know I have, where you just make a rush decision or a rash decision because you're stressed and then totally regret it and have to make another decision to get yourself out of the mess you got yourself into. It can just really help with all of those things.
Brilliant. I love that. So I guess let's get started with the session. So anyone who's listening who hasn't had the video on, now's the time to probably do this on video. So probably not do it on YouTube. Just starting tapping and
you can. I mean, I've tapped in public before, but I think you need a certain level of I don't know what the word would be.
Like a calm
environment. Not give a shit what other people think, basically. Yeah.
Exactly.
I definitely wouldn't have when I had the bad anxiety. So
yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna tap along as well. I might not say anything, otherwise we are overcutting each other, but I'm probably tapping along to your guidance.
So I will first just explain where the tapping points are so that people can see. So the first tapping point is on the side of the hand, and it's between where the wrist starts and the joint of the little finger, just on the kind of side of the hand. And then the next point is where your eyebrow starts. So just tapping slightly above, but just where your eyebrow starts, on the side of the eye. So if you were to draw a line straight through the middle of your eye to your temple, it's that point there. And then underneath your eye, same thing. If you were to draw a line through the middle of your pupil down to just where the bone is here, underneath your eye socket, we just tap there. And then underneath the nose, between the nose and the top of the lip, on the chin, and then the collarbone, which is tricky to see because of my microphone's in the way. But essentially, if you imagine you had a tie on, it's either side of the knot of the tie, if that makes sense. And then underneath the arm, which if you imagine drawing a line directly from the middle of your armpit down to where a bra strap would be if you wear a bra, it's roughly there. And then the top of the head, which is maybe 3 or 4 finger widths from your forehead. I couldn't think of the word then.
That's the word.
Yeah, just kind of like maybe 3 or 4 fingers back. So in the kind of like middle of the top of your head. And so they're the points. Common questions that I get about tapping that I'll just quickly answer. So because I imagine a lot of the listeners have, which hand? Does it matter if you tap, on your left hand or on your right hand? It doesn't matter. Does it matter if you tap, this side of your eyebrow, that side, or both together or both at the same time? It doesn't matter because your meridian lines mirror through your body. So some people you'll see tap with one hand, some tap with two. It doesn't really matter. It's what feels better for you. So, and with the tapping on the side of the hand, I see a lot of people tap with, I don't know, like the palm or this side. There's an acupuncture point in the top of your middle finger. So I always recommend just to use that finger, because otherwise you're missing one of the, yeah, exactly. Sorry, swearing at everyone. I always recommend to use the top of the middle finger. If you've got super long nails, don't worry too much. You can put them flat kind of thing. But if you don't have long nails, I recommend the top of your middle finger because you get that extra acupuncture point there. And then really with the tapping, all we do is I'm going to tap and say something, and then you're just going to repeat. The only time that I would say don't repeat, and especially if you're listening to this on a podcast, is if I say, for example, I'm scared I don't have enough clients. And your brain, as I say that, says, I'm anxious that I don't have enough clients, for example. Don't say scared. Don't use the language that I'm using. Use your language. It's very important with EFT, and this is something that no one really talks about enough, I don't think, that you're specific and clear and that you're following your brain and body. So when I'm working with somebody one-to-one, I'm, yes, the guide and the expert in inverted commas, but actually every single time you do tapping, the client is the expert. You know your body and brain way better than I ever will. I'm always guessing. So if as we're tapping, a different word comes into your head, so we might be tapping, I don't know, about clients or money or whatever, and you might be thinking service users and cash instead of clients and money, use your language. And if I use any like slang and you think, oh, I wouldn't say that word, or I wouldn't, use your language. It's really, really important. So as we go through this, if you feel like chucking in your own words, or if I've finished a sentence and your brain's still going with a few extra words, you just do you and follow yourself and your body and your process. Common things that might happen, not to worry about at all. You might notice certain sensations in the body. You might notice that you get hot or cold. You might notice that you start to feel a little bit anxious or sick or things like that. This is very common. You've got 2 options. You can either stop, put your hands over your heart and do the 5 in, 5 out breathing, or just carry on tapping, and it normally shifts very quickly. So safety, health and safety breathing first out of the way. Let's dive into it. So we're going to start on the side of the hand. And we're going to, first of all, talk about the problem. So we always talk about the problem. And for this one, we're going to think about overwhelm with our business. So I just want you to give yourself a number from 0 to 10 with how overwhelmed you feel in your business right now as we tap on this, with 0 being, I'm not overwhelmed at all, and 10 being, I couldn't quite be more overwhelmed if I tried. And once you've got your number, we're just going to tap. So even though I feel really overwhelmed in my business right now, I deeply and completely accept myself. And even though I've been putting myself out there and it's terrifying, what if people judge me? What if people don't like what I'm offering? What if people don't buy from me? What if my business fails? What if my business succeeds? What if I don't get enough bookings? Putting myself out there feels terrifying. I deeply and completely accept myself. I'm feeling really overwhelmed in my business. What if I put in all this effort and it doesn't work? What if I'm not good enough to do this? What if I am good enough? I just have so much to do, a never-ending to-do list. It feels insurmountable. I deeply and completely accept myself. I'm proud of the person that I am. I'm proud of the person I'm becoming. Not everyone can run a business, and I'm doing it. And I choose to feel really proud about that, even if that doesn't land yet. And then we're going to come to the eyebrow. What if my business fails? Side of the eye. I've got so much to do. I don't even know where to start. Under the eye. What if I put in all this effort and it doesn't work? Under the nose. I'm just so overwhelmed. On the chin. Who am I to do this? On the collarbone. What if I'm not good enough? What if I can't do it? Under the arm. What if no one books me? Top of the head. What if everyone books and I can't cope with how many people I've got? Eyebrow. There's so much to worry about. Side of the eye. So much to be anxious about. Under the eye. Everyone else looks so much more successful than me. Under the nose. Why would people book with me when they could book with them? On the chin. I just feel so overwhelmed. So much to do. I don't know where to start. Collarbone. What if it doesn't work out? Just so stressful having my own business. Under the arm. But maybe this is just my inner critic. Top of the head. Maybe this is just noise. Eyebrow. Maybe I just haven't found my people yet. Side of the eye. Maybe the fear is louder than my reality. Under the eye. Maybe other people's opinions don't matter as much as I think. Under the nose. Maybe what I see online from other people isn't the full truth. Maybe I'm starting to realise I can't fail because I'm always learning. Collarbone. Maybe I don't have to be perfect. Under the arm. Maybe I've survived all my worst days in my business so far. I've survived every financial wobble. So maybe I'm doing better than I think. Maybe my voice matters too. Maybe one step forward is enough. Maybe I've already proven I can do this because I'm already doing it. I know what I deliver is valuable. Collarbone. I know I can do this because I'm already doing it. Under the arm. I trust the right clients are on their way to me right now. And I choose to take one step to connect with them today. Top of the head. I can feel safe knowing money is always flowing to me. And I'm open to new avenues and money building in my bank account right now. Eyebrow. I'm building something sustainable. Side of the eye. I choose to clear this overwhelm and focus on my own progress. Under the eye. I choose to celebrate how far I've come. Under the nose. Even if I'm just starting out, I've started. On the chin. And if I'm not, I've got proof this works. Collarbone. I choose to stop giving myself such a hard time. under the arm. I am safe to show up as me and know that people will resonate with my truth. Top of the head. I am proud of the person that I am. I am proud of the effort I'm putting in. And I'm proud of the person I'm becoming. I am grateful for every client that I have and every client that is on its way. Side of the eye. I choose to focus on my own progress and celebrate how far I've come. Under the eye. I can breathe easy. I know how to prioritize, and I know progress comes from small actions. Under the nose. I choose to be as consistent as I can be in whatever way that is for me. On the chin. I know consistency looks different for other people. Collarbone. It's safe for me to experiment, to be curious, and to grow, to try new things, and know that failure just is learning. Under the arm. I belong here. I trust my skills. I trust my journey. Top of the head. I trust that I'm doing everything I need to do in the right order, and I choose to clear any obstacles. I am an incredible business person. Side of the eye, my business is a huge success. Under the eye. I am the only person that can run this particular business. Under the nose, and I choose to feel confident in that. On the chin. I am an incredible business owner. On the collarbone, and I deeply and completely accept all parts of myself. Under the arm, in mind, body, and spirit. And then just holding the wrist and take 3 deep breaths. I want you to breathe in confidence and breathe out all that overwhelm. Breathe in, feeling good. Breathe out any overwhelm. Breathe in all that money, all those new clients. Breathe in that fresh energy. And breathe out any obstacles, any wobbles, and any overwhelm. And then just allowing yourself to resettle. And just check in with your number and see, has it changed? Is it the same? Often what we're aiming for is that the number will go down, but don't worry if it goes up, because sometimes when we focus in on the problem, it can increase before it goes down. So thank you for tapping with me, everyone. Hopefully that's given you a good insight into what it is, and feel free to rinse and repeat as many times as you need.
Brilliant. I really love that. I mean, you said it earlier, people say they feel lighter, and I do feel lighter as well, even though I didn't repeat the words. I do feel calmer as well. So
yeah,
that's really...
You can just tap the points and breathe. You don't need to say anything. So sometimes I will just tap and breathe if I feel very stressed or overwhelmed by something, or if I'm, those days when you're like just trying to get into a task and you just can't get into a task, I'll just tap and breathe for a minute and then try again. And it can be a really nice little reset throughout your day.
That's really lovely. Setting me up for my day as well. So thank you.
You're so welcome.
To end this whole thing, I mean, obviously, I also want to hear from people that have listened and watched this, how they feel now after the session, if they found it helpful, if their number went down or anything. Just, leave comments or email me or whatever you want, and obviously get in touch with Rachael as well. Because the whole thing is called Work in Progress, the podcast. What is your work in progress? What are you currently working on?
My work in progress currently is I've just launched the Working Well Club, and I'm so friggin' excited about it. When I was when I was really ill with the long COVID, I was looking for a space that would support me as an ambitious business owner, but also would support me in my well-being, because a lot of the business spaces were very like, hustle, let's go. And I couldn't. And I was looking everywhere and I couldn't find anything. And so I believe this is at least London's, if not the world's first, well-being led hybrid workspace for women who want to build a business without burning out. And it's essentially a mix of online and offline co-working. Currently, the offline co-working is in London, but I'm hopefully going to expand eventually worldwide. Your EFT tapping coach, it's like community support online, masterminds, feedback on your business, everything that you basically need to thrive as a person and a business owner. Because I really believe like running a business solo shouldn't be isolating and draining. And I really think that success shouldn't cost your sanity and that burnout isn't a business strategy. So if you're doing it all and it's doing you in, come and join us in Working Well Club, because we'll be able to support you not only in your well-being, in talking about things like your needle movers, where to focus your energy that you have, working within your energy window. There's like at the start of every co-working session, we do some tapping, we do some grounding, breathing, those kinds of things. So it's very powerful space to get stuff done, but getting it done in a way that isn't going to cause you harm, basically.
I love that. When you first talked about it, I've felt your passion for it. And
Yeah.
that actually made me sign up as well, because it's like, oh, she's in it, right?
Yeah, but it's,
So I
you
love
you
that.
can spend a small fortune, right, on a co-working space membership, an online coach, a personal well-being stuff that you need. So then like some tapping membership or a meditation membership, or you've got Calm app on your phone, or all these different things that you have to pay for. And it's like, why isn't this kind of together in one space where it's like, because we're not separate from our business as a human being. And I think it's really important that we have a connection in community, not only for networking and collaborations and all that good stuff, but like sharing podcasts you've listened to, inspiration, like all that cool stuff, and connecting as humans, so that you're not isolated and you're not on your own. Building awareness of what you need as a business owner so you can deliver and build. And, often we're quite ambitious, aren't we? In our own ways, and we want to do stuff and we want to feel successful, but also I want you to feel energized, and I want your success to be sustainable. How many people do we know, even famous people that you see, who have it all in inverted commas, and then when you speak to them sometime later, they say, oh my God, that was the worst time in my life. I was so exhausted, I was so burnt out, I didn't have a minute to myself, I felt so ill. And it's like, what's the point then? What's the point in building a business so that we have freedom, so that we can have, money and time to do all this fun stuff in life, if we spend the whole time sick and unwell because we're overworking? It's like, let's see. I don't really like the word balance, probably the ADHD thing, but let's see if we can find some kind of, harmony between business and life and fun and success,
A middle ground.
I hate middle ground, but yeah, ish. Ish.
We work on the word.
I like the edges.
Yeah. Brilliant. I love
it.
that. Thank you, Rachel.
You're so welcome.
I'll
Thanks for
obviously
having
share
me.
all the links in the show notes as well. And have a lovely day. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. Lots of love.
Brilliant.
Bye.
Lots of life and love.